Hello, welcome back to the Bioinformatics Coach channel. Let's check the audio again to make sure that things are okay. Let's check 1 2 1 2. Okay, I think everything is fine now. Let me check to see that the audio is working. Okay, I think the audio is working now, so we can start. Okay, so welcome to the Bioinformatics Coach channel. Today's live stream is going to be on Linux for Bioinformatics. So I'm going to show you how to read VCF files using some Linux commands. So in the process of reading the VCF files, we are also going to extract information from the VCF file. So by the end of this live stream, this is what you'll be able to do. You'll be able to do this. Let me just shift to my desktop. You'll be able to extract information from a VCF file such as this one, and then direct the outputs, the result one output file such as this one, and you can open that output file using a spreadsheet software like this one. So basically, this is what we are going to do. So stay tuned. So before we proceed, let's also download the example data. I think we need to get that first. So I'll first remove these ones. I don't need them now. I'll download them fresh. Okay, so the example data is available on one of my GitHub repos, which is here. The link to this repo is in the description box, so make sure you check the description box and get the link. So when you are here, scroll down to this one here, this file here. That's what we are going to use, variant.vcf.gc. So to download, click it, and after clicking, you'll be sent to another page. So when you are here, go to the download button here and then download it. So because there's a Linux tutorial, I'll download using my terminal. So that means that I'll need to get a download link first. So I'll right click and then copy the link, and then I'll move to the terminal to download it. So I'll move to the terminal here. So on the terminal, I'll first create a directory called variants. I'll say make the variants. This is going to be my working directory. So I'll cd into it, and then I'll start the exercise. So I already have it created. This is it. So that's what I'll do. I always advise people to create directories for every project that they do. It helps you to it prevents you from accidentally modifying files. So that's what I do. So I'm now going to download the example data. I'll use wget to download. You can also use curl to download. So I'll say wget, and then I'll supply it with the link, the download link. This is it. And then I'll download the file. So the file is going to be downloaded now. It's a small file, so to be downloaded now. Okay, it's done. So let's take a look at it. Let's do an ls, and we are going to find a file there. There's the file. I can also take a look at it. I'm using my file manager. This is the file. Okay. So this file here, there's a VCF file. In case you are a beginner, you don't know what a VCF file is, let's take a look at this page. There's a description there. We will need to do that first. So visit this page. The link to this page is also in the description box. So this tells you the VCF, the content, and then the format, how the data has been stored. So in a VCF file, there are three kinds of lines, or three types of lines. We have the meta information lines. These lines begin with 2 hash characters. So this is one of them. We have this. We also have this. Let me enlarge it. So you can see the meta information lines there. There's also the header line. Let's scroll down. You'll see that here. There's also the header line. So the header line begins or starts with a hash, a single character. The meta information lines begin with 2 hash characters. The header line begins with 1. So the header line, this is a header line. This one, this is it. Okay, this is the header line. And the third lines are data lines. Let's scroll down to see that data lines. So these are the variants, information for the variants. So these are the data lines. So these are the three kinds of lines that are present in a VCF file. So in this tutorial, we are going to focus on the header line and then the data lines. So the header line, we have this. Let's scroll up. And by the way, the data lines do not begin or do not start with a hash symbol. Okay, I repeat, the data lines, unlike the other lines, the data line does not start with, or data lines do not start with hash characters. So let's scroll up to get more information. So this is how a typical VCF file is like. So we have the meta information line, which we are not going to talk about, but I'll encourage you to read about it. We also have the header line, which we will use, and we have the data lines, which are here. So the key to extracting, or the key to reading VCF files using Linux commands is the hash. So we make queries, we search for lines that begin with the hash character, or lines that do not have it. So depending on what you want, you'll be able to extract information for the variants or the header or the meta information. So we will look at all of these things very soon. So with a VCF file, the header lines, which are these ones here, and as well as the data lines, they are tabs delimited. That means that each column, let's take it as columns. So for each column here, I mean, a pair of columns are separated by a tab character. So that's why they are called tab delimited entries. So this is, and then that's. And then for a VCF file, the first 8, let's scroll down. The first 8 headers are always present in a VCF file. So for Chrome, post, ID, ref, alt, call, filter, info, they are always present in the VCF file. And then the others can come, but these 8, they are always there. These 8, they are always there. So you always find them in a VCF file. Okay, so that's basically about it. We will do the rest on the terminal. Now we have this, so I think we are good to go. So we will go back to the terminal. So there's the VCF file, by the way. We will move to the terminal and then start. So before we do, let me also say that a VCF file is basically a text file. And that is why we can use some Linux commands to extract, to read and extract information from them. Sometimes you have them compressed, such as this one here. This is a compressed VCF file. And that is why we have .gz. So .gz means that it's a compressed file. So in this tutorial, we are going to use these Linux commands. Let me switch to the slide. We are going to use these Linux commands. We will use awk, zgrep, cat, sed, sort. We are also going to use an if statement. And we are also going to use the unique utility. I omitted it here, but it's something we are going to use. When we get to that point, you will see that also. So basically, we are using these utilities here, 6 here, and then there's the unique one, which is not here. I omitted it, but it's there. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So I will shift to the terminal and then we can start the exercise. Let me shift now. It's time to start the work. Okay, let's see how many people are there. We have 4 people. Okay, that's good. You can also send your messages or questions and then I'll try to read them. Okay. So let's go. So let's do an ls. We have our VCF file here. Now, if you have your VCF file, then one of the things you can do is to count the number of variants. So when making queries, when extracting information from VCF files, we have to use the grep. Okay. So if it's a normal text file, we can use grep, but because this is compressed, this is .gz, we have to use what you call the zgrep. So to find or to count the number of variants in the VCF file, we say zgrep -v, we bring our hash like this, and then we can specify a VCF file. So here what we are doing is that we are looking for lines that begin with the hash character, the hash symbol, and these lines we don't want them. That is why I have -v. Okay, so -v is saying that we want lines that do not begin with a hash. Let me just put it that way. So -v is like it's negating the process. Okay, it's negating it. So without a -v, that means we want lines that begin with hash, but the -v here turns the whole query upside down. So we rather want lines that do not begin with a hash character. That's what that's for us. So with the zgrep, we do this, and then you can add -c. So -c here will count. Okay, before I even do that, let's just use this one for example. Let's do this. If we do this, this is what's going to happen. Okay, it's going to count everything for us, but that's not what we want. What we want is the number. We want the number of variants. So that means we add a -c to it. So this will give us the number instead of giving us all the information that was displayed. So this will give us the total number of variants. You can also do this instead of -c here, you can bring your pipe command and say wc-l. That will also give you the same number, but because we're already using the grep, then just add your -c here and then get your value. That's about it. Now, if you are going to use this tutorial, if you are going to apply whatever is here to your data, I suggest that you first process your data and make sure that everything is in order. Okay, process it, filter, make sure you have your finalized or your final VCF, and you can apply this there. Now, if you are dealing with multi-sample VCFs, then I'll suggest that whatever command that you issue here, you try to verify using other tools just to make sure that everything is fine. And let me also say that with all the commands that I'm using here, I've already prepared all of them into a bash script, into a bash command, a bash script, by the way. So the scripts can be found on my Patreon channel. I'll leave the link to the Patreon channel after I'm done with this live stream. So you can go check that Patreon channel out and then download the bash scripts. So all the commands that I'm using here, everything has been packaged into that particular script, and you can download and quickly run all the commands there and probably adapt and then use it for your stuff. That's also fine. Okay, so let's continue. So we now have the number of variants. We have counted it. Another thing that we also check is the chromosomes. You have your VCF file. Sometimes you would like to check the chromosomes. Okay, you want to find out the chromosomes on which these variants have been identified or on which these variants can be found. You can do that using some Linux commands. So this is where we start the exercise itself. Okay, so for the zgrep command, we are always going to use it because we need to first get all lines that do not start with the hash symbol. So that's why the zgrep will always bring it. So if you want to get the chromosomes, you issue our zgrep-v, get our hash, specify our variants, and then we bring a pipe. Then we will use the awk command. I'll show you two approaches. We will use the awk command first. So the awk command, we use it to identify patterns and process text. And then the awk command, by default, it automatically identifies tab characters and space characters. And so it splits them based on these delimiters. So that's why the awk is a great utility for processing text. So we say awk, we bring a quote, we bring a curly brackets, and we say print $1. Then we bring another curly brackets, and then we bring our quotes. So this will give us the first column. That's what it's going to do. So let's run this command. Okay, so we have that done. Now I'll go into details, but before we do that, let me just say something here. This command here, this all command, we say print $1 because we want just the first column. Now let's go back to our VCF specification. So you see we have Chrome, pause, ID, ref, alt, qual, filter, etc. So what the awk command does is that the awk command identifies these tab characters, and then after identifying the tab delimiters or characters, it splits them. So this is tab, it splits. So after splitting, we will have a column on the left and then the right. And so when it splits them, this becomes, the Chrome becomes column 1, this becomes column 2, that's the pause, this is columns 3, 4, etc. And so the print statement and then the $1 I used was for the first column, which becomes this Chrome, which becomes the Chrome as I printed it out. That's what it does for us. Okay, so that's what the number of chromosomes. When you want to get the chromosome, when you want to get the list, that's why we have this $1 here. So $2 will become pause, $3, etc. So based on the arrangement that we saw on the PDF documents. So this is why we have that number being displayed for us. Let's just repeat it again. We have it here. We will do it again. This time we just use a head to get, so head will give us just 1. Now what we have here, we are listing all the chromosomes, such as this one here. We are listing all of them, but sometimes we don't want all the chromosomes. We just want like a summary, just the chromosomes, what chromosomes are present. So to do that, we can add another command. So we can just say, we can bring a pipe and then we can say unique. So this will remove duplicates for us. So let's run this command. Perfect. So this will remove all the duplicates so that we have just our chromosomes. So we have chromosome 1 up to 14. So this is a Plasmodium genome. I downloaded this VCF file from the malaria gene database, and then I did some processing. So if you're wondering why there are 14 chromosomes, because we are dealing with a Plasmodium genome. That's some variants identified in that genome. Okay, so this is what we get. So this gives us the chromosomes. We have 14 of them. Okay, so the unique command can be used to remove duplicates. Okay, so let's proceed. Now, before we even proceed, let me just say this. I think, okay, yeah, we already have that there. We will continue. Now, if let's say you want to count the number of variants per chromosome, you can also do that here. Let's just try it. Let's do it. So if you want to get a number of chromosomes, the number of variants per chromosome, let me just put it that way. If you want to get the number of variants per chromosome, in other words, for each chromosome, you want to look at the number of variants that were identified on that chromosome. Then this same command, you can just say -c to count. So let's run this command. So this will give us all the counts here. Okay, so that gives us the number of variants per chromosome. Now, if you're dealing with multi-sample VCFs, again, just make sure you verify using other tools. Okay, that's if you're a beginner. If you're an expert, if you're an advanced Linux user, you know your way around. But if you're not an expert, then I'll suggest you try with other tools to make sure that the counts that you have is the same as what you are getting from the other tools. So this is just that's a caveat for this tutorial. Okay, so that's what we have. So this gives us the number of variants per chromosome. Now let's proceed. So before we proceed, let's do this. Let's try and then get the headers again from here. So I'll just do a zgrep -vim hash. Just want to show you something before we proceed. So I'll just say -n1 to give us the headers. Let me just do it here. It's supposed to be this one rather. At this time we don't need the -vim because we want the headers. Yeah, let me just go over again. So I want to get the headers for this VCF file. So to get the headers, or to get a header, I'll say zgrep. I'll bring the hash, and then I'll specify the VCF file. So this time I'm not using -vim because I want lines that begin with the hash. That's what I really want. Okay, that's what I really want. And then that's one, the last one, that'll be -n1. That is what I want. Okay, so this is what I want. So I have my headers. Okay, so it's similar to what we saw on the page. I have everything here. So the first 8, I made mention, they'll always be in a VCF file. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They'll always be in a VCF file. And then we also have these other ones. So in this tutorial, I'm going to focus on the first one, Chrome up to filter. That's what I'm going to focus on because these ones, it's easy to implement the codes. Okay, but the info and then the formats, those ones you need to add additional codes. I'll cover that in another tutorial, by the way. I'll cover that in another tutorial. So for now, for this tutorial, we are focusing on just these ones. You may also be wondering what these ones are for. PRO114C, PRO115. So these are samples. These are samples. So you can extract information for all the variants. Okay, you can get the chromosome position ID, ref, etc. You can also get the information for a particular sample or some samples or a group of samples. So that is where the sample ID is coming. So if you want to get information for a particular sample or some sample, then for the tool that you use, you will need to specify the sample ID or the sample name, and that's why you have to get these ones here. So we can use tools like GATK, BCF tools, VCF tools to extract that. Those are streamlined. Okay, so we can do that and then just get the information you want. So it's not only Lino that you can use to extract or to read and extract information from a VCF file. You can also use those other tools, BCF tools, GATK, VCF. So I have a separate playlist for VCF manipulation. So if you're interested, you can just watch that to learn how to use some of these tools to also extract information. So check the description box, you'll find a link to that playlist. Okay, so let's continue. So again, we are going to just look at extracting the information for these headers. That's what we are going to. So we are going to get, for all the variants, we will get chromosome position ID, ref, or squal filter. That is basically what we want to achieve at the end of this tutorial. So let's get going. Okay, now we are done. So that's what we are going to do. Now we are going to extract the chromosome and then the position. It's getting interesting here. So let's proceed. So let's say I want the chromosome and then the position. Okay, for all the variants, how do I do this? We will have our grep, zgrep, of course. And this time I want -vim because I want the data lines. And then I specify my VCF file. Now when I come here, I can say this. I can use awk. I bring my quotes. I bring my curly brackets. I'll say print $1, $2. and then I bring my code. So this will give me the chromosome and then the position. Let's run this command. Okay, so I have it done this way. Let's check. Let's just get the first few lines. Let's do a head. And we have that here. Now you notice something here. You notice that they are all just bundled up, chromosome and then the position. You don't know which is chromosome, you don't know which is number. Okay, so that's the behavior of awk. So you can modify it by adding a delimiter or a separator. And so with this same command, let me just clear this. When you come here in between them, you can bring a space character or a tab character. You can do that here. So let's just use a space here. And then let's run it. Let's get the first few lines. So when you do that, you realize that now it has been formatted nicely for us. So now we know the chromosome, we know the position. You can also use a tab. Let's just try with a tab. So that's /t. And that will also give us a tab. Okay, so depend on what you want to use to separate them, you can just add appropriate. You can also use a comma, that's also fine. Now, if you take a look at this command here, let's just use the one with a space. We have this, but sometimes you would like to save it to an output file. So if you want to save it to an output file, let's just do this. We just have to redirect. So this time, let's just use, let's say, file1.txt. So now if I do an ls, I'm going to find it here, this one here. So I'll just do a head and get some of the lines. I have them here. Now this one here, let's just open it. This is the file. Let's open it. I'll open it with a spreadsheet software. Let's open it. Yeah, I have that here. Okay, we have this and this. Of course, we need to properly format it so that you can get them in separate columns. So this is where the tab comes in. So I'll reissue this command again. And then this time, instead of using a space character, I'll use a tab. So that'll be /c. You can use a tab or you can use a comma. Any of them is fine, but I'll use the /c command. If you are getting confused, just use a comma. That will also work. But just make sure you are consistent with what you are using. So I'll issue this command again. And then now we know it's already working. So I'll open that with my spreadsheet software. Okay, yeah, so now it has been done nicely for me. But then if you take a look at what we have here, of course, because we have two columns, we know this is chromosome, this is position. But then sometimes you would like to send this to someone else. It's a report you are sending to someone to read or to keep record. So that means you need to give a header. You need to bring a header so that the person will know that this is chromosome, this is position. So how do we do that? Let's go back to our Linux terminal and then add something else. So it's getting interesting here. Let me check if I have some comments here. Let me check. I don't think I have any comments yet. Yeah, so I'll proceed. So now we are going to add a header. So to do that, I'll just do this. To do that, we add another utility, which is the sed, S-E-D. So I'll bring my pipe and I'll say sed. And then I'll bring a quote and I'll say 1i. And I bring a slash and I'll say chrome/c pos. Then I close it. So let's run this command. Let's just use the head first to get the first few lines, and then that will let us know that indeed we have added it here. Okay, so of course you could have first issued a command to add the headers first and then now add these entries, but then if you do it straight away like this, it's much simpler and it's faster. Okay, so we have the headers added, so now we can save it. So let's save it. I'll use the, okay, let me just say file2.txt, not txt this time, because we are using a tab separator here. Let's say tsv. Okay, so tab separated value. Let's use this one here. So let's save this information. Okay, so now we can go back to the file here, and I can open it with my spreadsheet software. Let me just open it now. Okay, so now you can see that it's nicely done. So if you compare this to this, I mean, the other one is much better. It's looking nicer because of the header, which is here, chromosome and then position. So it has been done nicely. So this is how we use Linux to do some of this. So Linux, if you know Linux scripts, and it makes your life easier in terms of running some of these activities. Linux is a very powerful tool when it comes to processing text files. So that is what we are showing here. Okay, so let's go back. Now let's do this. Here we use the awk command to get all the information, but aside the awk, you can also use the cat utility to get the same results. So let's try that. Let's try that here. So if you want to use the cat command, let me just, not cat. This time we are saying cut. Cats. This one here. This is also used to cut or split text. So if you want to use the cats to achieve the same results, you bring your zgrep, you bring your VCF file, and when you come here, you say cat -d delimiter, and then we bring a $, and bring a quote, and say /t. So that means that the delimiter is what? A tab character. The $ here is used because this is like this is a special case. Okay, we call it escape characters. So the $ here, let's bash know that we want what is actually here, the true meaning. Okay, that's the /t, meaning a tab. So when we come here, -f, because we want the first and second column, 1, 2. So let's run this command. Notice how that has also been done for us. Let me repeat again. This is the command. You issue your cats, indicate your delimiter, say -f, and then you say 1, 2. That means you want the first and then the second column. If you can also add third or maybe 6th or 7th or whatever, but for now let's keep it at 2, these 2 columns. So now I'll just do a head, and then I'll get it done nicely for me. Okay, that's also possible to do. So there's another way to also extract the chromosome and the position for all the variants in a VCF file using the cat command. Okay, again, we can add our header, so we can just use a sed 1i /chrome /c post, and then what do we do? Let's just remove this head here. Let's bring it here just to confirm. So that is done. So again, we can redirect it. So Now let's say file3.tsv. So we can open it. Let's do a head file3.tsv, and then we get it here. Again, you can open it with your spreadsheet software, which is here. Let me open it now, and then you have it done nicely. Okay, so this is how we do it using this other command. Okay. The question that also comes is, what about if you want information for a particular chromosome? Let's say you want the variants that are present in, let's say, chromosome 14. How do we do that? Let's find out. So to do that, we will use the awk command. Okay, that will demonstrate using the awk command here. So if you want to get, let's say, the variant for, let's say, chromosome 14, you want information for chromosome 14. Let's say you want the chromosome 14 and then the position. Then your zgrep, that one is always constant. You specify your variants, and then you bring your pipe command, and then you bring your awk, and then you bring your quotes, you bring your curly brackets, and then here you have to bring an if statement. So I'll say if, and then you bring a bracket, and then you say $1 equals 14. That's what we need. $1 equals 14. And then you bring a curly bracket again. And then you say print $1. And this time, let me just add this /c $2, because we know that we need to do that. And then after that, we bring our curly bracket and then we close it. So this is how it's going to be. Let's just check to make sure that everything is in order. Let's check. Okay, I think everything is in order now. You don't even need to bring this space. This should work. Let's try this. So let's execute this command. Okay, so this will give us only the chromosome 14. Let's just confirm here. Let's use a head command here first to get it. So you will get information for only chromosome 14. So this is also another way. If you want information for a specific chromosome, then you can just use an if statement here to guide you. So of course, if you have the if statement, you can still bring, if you want maybe column 3, 4, 5 and others too, you can bring all of them here, and that should also be fine. So that one will also be done nicely for you. So that's how we do it. So again, if you have this, then you can save it. So let's say chr14.csv. You can save it. I can do a head and then I'll get it there. And of course, you can also add your header. So have your sed 1i, and then you bring your Chrome /c post, yeah, and then you can just execute it. You can save it. Let's save it. And then we can just confirm. Let's do an ls. We have the file there. We can just confirm it here. That's also done nicely for me. So that's it. So that's for this particular one where you want a specific chromosome. That can also be done. So it's possible to do that using some of these commands. Let's check if we have some messages here, if anyone has sent message. Not yet. I don't think anyone has sent a message yet, so we can continue. Let's check. Okay, so that is it. Now let's try this. We have done for chromosome, we have done for position. It's also possible to add the ID, ref, alt, quality, etc. So let's try this. Let's try that one. This will be our last command because it's basically a build-up. So if let's say, let's just do this. Let's look at the situation. Let's do a zgrep variant tail-n1. Now let's say I want all the columns here. I have column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let's just say 7. This 7 up to this one here. Let's say I want all of them. Then you may be tempted to use this command. Let's go back. Let's use the awk. I want us to use the awk. You may be tempted to use the awk. So if you use the awk, that means you have to come and type $3, $4, $5, $6, $4, $5, $6, etc. Okay, so that can make things complicated, basically. So if you have all these columns, if you have all these columns up to 7 and you want all of them, then don't worry, you can use the cat command to do that. So let's try that. Let's try that. So you can just say this. You can say zgrep -bin, I bring it, I call my variants, and then I come to cats -d $/t, and when I come to the f here, I'll say -f, and I can say -7. So that means I want all the columns up to number 7, column number 7. Now let's run this command. Let's do ahead. Perfect. So now you can see that it has given us all the columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that can also be done. So just by combining some of these Linux commands, it's easy to, or it can make you do a lot of work. You can do lots of stuff here if you know these commands and you're able to combine them and properly. So you can do things such as this one. So Linux is pretty straightforward. I mean, if you have the right materials, you can quickly learn and then use that to do a lot of stuffs. So this one like this, let's just clear the screen. So if you have it like this, then you can now add your set. So set, let's say chrome/c post/c. Of course, there are better ways to do this as well, but that's something that I wouldn't want to use to get confused with the viewer. So let's just do it the manual way. So I have Chrome post, I have ID, I have ref, I have alt, I have qual, I have filter. I have something like this. Let's just check to make sure that everything is okay. I have Chrome/c post/c ID/c ref/c alt/c. I also have quality and then filter. So I can run this. Let's check. Let me just confirm to make sure that everything's okay. Yeah. So because it's a set, I need to bring my 1i here. Slash. Yeah, okay. Let me now change the font size here, make it smaller a bit, and then we can continue. I'll use this. Let me change this to, let's say, 21. Yeah, so that I can get all of them in the same line. Okay, yeah, so this should be fine. Okay, so I have it here, so I can run it. Perfect, so it has been done. I will just do a head, and then I'll get it done. So now I have everything done nicely for me. So I have my chromosome position ID, ref, alt, quality filter, all of them. Okay, nicely formatted. Okay, so once I have it this way, I can just save it. So I'll just say variants. That's TSV. I can do it this way. Let me just remove some of the spaces here so that I can get all of them on the same line. Okay, so I have it here. So once I have it this way, so I have variants, or I can add variants to it like this. And then I'll just execute it. And so by doing that, if I do an ls, I'm going to find the file there, variant.tsv. I can do a head variant.tsv, and I'll get all the information there. Let me increase the font size again to 23. That's what we were using. So I'll just increase it now. Okay, yeah. So again, I'll redo this command again. So head variant.tsv, and I'll have the information there. So if you are done, you can just come variant.tsv, open it with your spreadsheet software. Let's use this one. And then there you have it. So you have all the information you need. Okay, so this is how we use Linux commands to read and extract information from a VCF file. So try your hands on all these things and then just experiment and then learn something new. So again, all the commands I've used, everything has been packaged into a bash script, and I've made it available on my Patreon channel. So I'm going to leave the link in the description box at the end of this live stream. So just make sure that you check that. So in case you have also not checked, yesterday I had a live stream on Python, so you can check that also out. The link I'll put in the description, but I can also check the live session on my YouTube channel, and then you'll get that there. Okay, so I think that'll be it for this tutorial. And then next week there's going to be another Python live stream, and then Linux, and then I'm also going to upload another tutorial where I use VCF tools to extract information from a VCF file. So it's basically the same thing as what I've done here, but this time instead of using Linux, I used VCF tools to do that. So I will upload that tutorial this week also, so you can check that out, so that you have different options to choose from in terms of tools and commands you can use to extract information from a VCF file. So just go all out and then learn some stuff. So that'll be all for this tutorial. Let me check if there's something else we need to do. I think basically we've covered all that I plan to do, so everything is fine now. Okay, yeah, so I think that's about it. So if you also want to learn how to call variants, I've already covered some tutorials, so I'll leave that playlist in the description box, because with the VCF files, you can only generate VCF files if you have performed your variant calling. So if you want to learn how to call variants, then just check that playlist in the description box and you get some tutorials there. Okay, so that's all for this tutorial. And again, I will say that check the Patreon channel, and then you find scripts for this tutorial as well as all my other tutorials. So basically, for my YouTube tutorials, the script that I use, I always put them on my Patreon channel. So if you want those scripts, just go there and then download them. So that'll be all for this tutorial. and I'll see you in the next session.